Hey, this is Scott, and today we're going to be taking a look once again at the Deity D3 Pro, which I reviewed as the best on-camera video mic on the market right now, and we're going to compare it with Deity's own very well-received S-Mic 2. So if you haven't seen my review of the D3 Pro, I will put a link down below and also on screen now, but as you can see, one of the biggest strong points of this microphone compared to others on the market is that it can be removed from the shock mount very easily, and what you get is pretty much just a typical little shotgun microphone here that can be used in any other shock mount on the market pretty much, including the one that they do include in their location kit. And they do also have a very easy to use 3.5 to XLR adapter, so you can use this very easily out on the end of a boom pole like you would a typical shotgun microphone. So some people have asked me what would be, the differences, or I guess the advantages and disadvantages of choosing something like the S-Mic 2 over the D3 Pro or vice versa. So today that's exactly what we're going to try and talk about. So first up and right off the bat, the sound quality of the S-Mic 2 has been compared with some very widely used and very well liked microphones on the market that do come in at a much higher price point. So that right there should tell you something about the sound quality without even having heard it. But of course, as I mentioned in the D3 Pro review, the sound quality of that microphone is also fantastic. So we're going to take a look at the sound quality side by side of these two microphones today in a couple of different situations. The S-Mic 2 also has, of course, a standard XLR connection with phantom power, so there's no battery you need to worry about replacing or recharging in here, and it's very resistant to RF interference, and also to a certain degree, it's kind of basically weatherproof. It's been tested in depth in terms of its weatherproofing, so I love this microphone too much to put it through that abuse, but let's just say it is a very tough microphone. The D3 Pro, however, is much more lightweight, has this built-in gain knob, and then with that 3.5-inch cable you can easily use the XLR adapter or use it with a DSLR, a smartphone, a tablet, and a whole range of devices because it is a smart cable actually. And you also do have a two-step low-cut filter built into the microphone itself, which the S-Mic 2 does not have. They both definitely have their appeals and their drawbacks, but people who prefer one over the other in terms of their physical design probably already know which one works best for them. So let's go ahead and take a look at those audio comparisons in a couple of different situations. So before we get into the actual audio tests, let's go ahead and take a listen to how quiet they both are. I suspect that both of these microphones are going to be very quiet and probably there won't be much of a noticeable difference, but let's go ahead and listen to that anyway. So for these audio tests, we're going to start off right here in this room because, of course, I'm right here. And if you've noticed, this is a different setup from the opening of this video because when I first did this test, I had some issues with the connection on the XLR cable. And so I didn't notice that until after I started editing the video. And so anyway, I'm here now recording it again, and we're in exactly the same setup pretty much. I have the microphones about a foot or a foot and a half from my mouth in pretty much the same position, and they're both going into the Zoom F4. I have the D3 Pro on about 6 on the microphone's levels to get it to pretty much match up with the levels as the S-Mic 2. Alright, so just out of curiosity, because a lot of people will be using these microphones in maybe their home studio where there might be noise in another room with your family or your kids, or noise from outside, I wanted to see how well these microphones can focus on my voice, which is right here in front of the microphone, compared to some noise from the outside. I put some music on right outside of the room. I have the door closed, but the computer is right outside of the door, and there's some music playing out there. I myself kind of can't hear my own voice that much because the music is just kind of messing with me. So I'm really curious to see, again, how well these microphones will reject that off-axis noise from outside the room and focus only on my voice, and if there's any difference in these two microphones in terms of that kind of performance. So again, hopefully now you can hear that kind of comparison between the two microphones, how it focuses on my voice versus how it's picking up that noise right outside of the room in the hallway. So in these kind of videos, talking heads, YouTube reviews, maybe product unboxings, things like that, people might be moving from one side to the other or moving back or forwards in relation to the microphone because, they're reaching for something or trying to look at something or show something. And also, if you have somebody booming these microphones out to catch some dialogue between two people, they might not always perfectly get it pointed at their actor, at their source. So I just want to hear how these microphones sound as I move off axis in this kind of a little bit controlled environment. So as I'm leaning over to this side to do something over here, and then as I'm leaning over to this side to do something over here, as I'm looking at something over here, and then coming back, and then as I'm looking at something over here, and then coming back. And also as I'm leaning back away from the microphones, again, these are kind of pointing down, so they're pointing at my voice where it's coming out kind of right here. But as I move back, this is how they sound. And again, I'll switch back and forth between the two microphones to see how they both perform in these types of situations. So now let's go outside, and technically I already did go outside because I already recorded that part of the video and that was fine. But we'll see how these sound in a couple of different setups at a couple of different distances from me and how it picks up that surrounding noise in an outside type environment. It's not super noisy, but you can hear some cars going by. I'll explain all that in that video. Let's go ahead and check it out. So as you can see, we are outside right now, as you can see by the very bright sun shining directly in my face. So sorry about that. Obviously, this is not going to look that great, but it's a microphone test, so whatever. You can see that the microphones are about a foot or foot and a half away from my mouth right now, which is what I would consider pretty much an ideal position if possible in that setup. Usually I would frame the video a little bit different, obviously, but for this purpose, I want you to see what's going on, so I have it framed like this. But you can hear hopefully the difference, or no difference, I guess, whatever is a better outcome between these two microphones in this type of environment. This is a relatively quiet environment. There is some cars driving by on the street, which is just on the other side of this house. Not super close, probably maybe 30-40 feet away. Sometimes bigger trucks, which you might hear a little bit more, but at this close distance I'm expecting my voice will overpower those and it won't be too much of a distraction. Maybe once we get the microphones a little bit higher up, you'll be able to hear more of that environment mixed together with my voice, but as of now I don't expect there to be any huge problems. There are some birds and maybe a little bit of a light wind, but I don't expect that to be too much of a problem either. It's not a very strong wind at all. And I do have the foam windscreens on here. I didn't want to put any furry windscreens on here just to give you as much of a bare bones comparison of these microphones sound as possible. But yeah, this is what you're getting again at this relatively ideal distance. So now, as you can see, I have the microphones a little bit further away from my mouth. They're about 1 meter or 1.5 meters away to be specific. And obviously this is a little bit less than ideal. Usually you'd want to have them a little bit closer to your sound source, but I wanted to show you how they handle picking up these environmental sounds in comparison to my voice when they're a little bit further away. So I don't know if you can hear a difference or not in terms of audio quality, but if I'm lucky and a car drives by, which it is right now, if I'm lucky and a car drives by, which it is right now, hopefully you can hear a little bit of a difference in these two microphones in terms of how they pick up that surrounding environmental noise, the ambient noise in comparison to my voice. And I'm expecting at this distance you'll see a little bit more of a difference than when they were close to my mouth. So hopefully now, as I have some cars driving by, that'll give a really good and clear differentiation between these two microphones. But yeah, also in terms of audio quality, they may be different at a little bit of a distance, so that will be interesting to see. So again, I apologize for the awkward setup here, but I just want to show you how both of these microphones deal with the audio that comes from not perfectly on axis. So I'm just going to walk around the microphones and continue talking, then I'm going to show you that clip twice with each of the microphones, so that way you can hear how they compare in terms of what the audio sounds like when it's coming from off axis. So I'm just going to start walking around the microphone and I'm going to continue talking so you can hear and you can see how my voice sounds from different positions around the microphone as I'm approaching the rear of the microphone, for example. And then as I come around the side of it, you can hear exactly how both of these microphones deal with audio as it comes from off axis, how well it rejects audio from off axis, and just how it sounds. So if you're not pointing exactly at your subject, if your subject walks off to the side a little bit, or if you have somebody booming between two people, how easily or how well it's going to pick up the audio from that person, which is not perfectly in line with the microphone. I'm just going to start walking around the microphone and I'm going to continue talking so you can hear and you can see how my voice sounds from different positions around the microphone as I'm approaching the rear of the microphone, for example. And then as I come around the side of it, you can hear exactly how both of these microphones deal with audio as it comes from off axis, how well it rejects audio from off axis, and just how it sounds. So if you're not pointing exactly at your subject, if your subject walks off to the side a little bit, or if you have somebody booming between two people, how easily or how well it's going to pick up the audio from that person, which is not perfectly in line with the microphone. So obviously these microphones will find themselves in all sorts of different situations, different locations, different surrounding noises, different people's voices, because obviously all these tests are with my voice. But I can't test that extensively, of course. However, hopefully this video will give you some idea of the differences between these microphones, both of their kind of personalities, I guess you could say, and also not only audio quality, but the different pros and cons that they both have in terms of design and features, and maybe which one might be a better choice for you if you can only pick one. But of course, they're both so affordable. I really recommend you pick up both of these because they're both very, very useful in different situations. Obviously, the D3 is great, maybe the best on-camera microphone at the moment, and the S Mic 2 is, as a shotgun microphone and boom microphone, really top-notch and at a great price. So if you can pick up both of these, I would highly recommend it, but if you can't, again, hopefully this video will give you some idea of which one will match the best for you. If you have any questions or comments though, be sure to leave those down below and I will definitely get back to you. If you like this video or found it helpful, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to see more in the future, and as always, thank you for watching.